Hello everyone, this is John from Western Maine Defensive Tactics. Going to talk about boots today. And if there's two things I hate shopping for, one is pickup trucks, the other is boots. I'm pretty hard on boots. I wear them just about every day. And I like boots. I enjoy having a good, durable pair of boots. But as it seems like as time goes by, they're harder and harder to find. And I'm going to do, let's call this like a backhanded review. Or I can't really make you any recommendations, but I'm going to show you a couple of pair of boots that I'm, let's say, quasi-satisfied with. Might be okay for you, but they wouldn't be what I'd choose. I probably wouldn't buy either one again. I'd probably look for something else. But to be clear about what I need, what I want is, I just want a plain old basic pair of black lug sole resolable boots with speed lace, or at least half speed lace, and a fully gusseted tongue, made of good quality, full grain leather. It can be lined with something like cambrel or something like that, or it can be unlined. I don't really care. As long as it's constructed well, it doesn't matter to me. Because those are the types of boots that you used to buy, let's say, back in the 60s and the 70s, and even the early 80s. And they would last you 10, 15, 20 years, and you could resole them. You could, some outfits would replace parts of the leather when they got dinged up. But anyway, let's start with these. In my quest for the combat boots, I abandoned all hope for the quote-unquote tactical boot, because tactical boots, in my experience, regardless of the brand, are basically a glorified sneaker. They're not really a boot. They don't last. They're designed to last about a year, year and a half, 2 years tops under constant use, and then fall apart to make the department or whoever you're working for, whether it's corrections or EMS or the police department, buy you a new set of boots, because most places are contracted for one pair of boots per person per year. Sometimes it's not like that, but often it is. So basically, it's a cash cow for these boot places. They're comfortable for a while, they last, but when they start to fail, they just completely fail, in my experience. Usually the bottoms usually start to disbond. Usually stitching rips out. All the stitching between the ballistic nylon and the leather fails. It's basically what I call a shit show. They're not even worth buying. They're a waste of money, in my opinion. Anyway, so I abandoned those and I started looking at logging boots, because logging boots are made to walk miles in the woods with and hold up year after year. At least they used to be. But there's still some domestic logging boots that are pretty good. Anyway, so I bought these. These are Chippewa brand super loggers, and these are a pretty good boot. I'm not 100% satisfied with these, but they're okay. They're steel toes, waterproof and insulated. The waterproofing seems to be pretty good. It's holding up. This is about my third year with this boot, and I have treated it pretty often with Hubbard shoe grease, like once a week when I first got them, and they've held up pretty well. The sole is pretty good. There's a rock in it, among other things. They've held it pretty good. One thing I would like is more traction up here, because when you're walking uphill in the mud or the snow, it needs more traction these last couple inches. You can slide backwards. What I like about them, the leather seems to be pretty decent. Almost a full gusseted tongue. Decent speed lace, though some of the eyelets are a little hard on laces. I've had to replace them a few times. And like I said, I've had these boots about 3 years. And in my opinion, they don't look as good as they should for as little wear as they've had in those 3 years. I wear these in the winter. I'll wear them just about, if not every day, just about every day. But that's only for, let's say, 6 or 7 months a year. So I haven't really beaten the hell out of these like I expected I would, or like I would I don't know how to word this. I haven't really beaten the hell out of these for them to look about like they look, and for the little things that I'll talk about. But anyway, if you look at the leather on the toe, and I realize that steel toe boots, the leather over the toe gets scuffed up pretty easily. These gouges in the leather, they weren't caused by me getting on and off a tractor. They weren't caused by a chainsaw or anything like that. They were caused when I climbed up on my roof last year to chip some ice off it. that leather wasn't very dense and was soft and was gouged up by the ice itself, which really surprised me because I've had boots in the past that have stood up to that treatment with no problem whatsoever. This is the left boot, and I'm also having a problem with these up in here. There's material, I think it's the lining is bunching up, or something got in underneath the lining and is bunching up and making a lump over my toes and on my instep, and I don't really like those. Other than that, these are pretty good boots for an insulated steel-toe boot. The insulation seems to work pretty well. I had them out this fall and this winter, and a couple winters ago. This winter wasn't particularly bad. This fall I walked, I hunted with these quite a bit. I'd walk anywhere from 4 to 6 miles in these. Not forced march with a pack, but out still hunting with a rifle. Covering a pretty decent amount of ground, but not at a blistering pace. You know, walking out to a stand, sitting a little while, then moving around the woods for a few hours. And for a steel-toed boot, that was pretty comfortable. Again, I don't consider steel-toe boots all that comfortable to begin with, but this is probably the most comfortable steel-toe boot, excepting that little flaw up there that I have. The insulation seems pretty good. I've worn them out to 20 and 30 below, and also out in the slush, like snow blowing or shoveling snow, and they seem to hold up pretty well. But again, I did reinforce these with some of the Hubbards. Hubbards is pretty good stuff. So I guess I'm satisfied with these boots, and like I said, they're about $280 a pair. And I'll continue to wear these in the winter until they completely fail. And I think I'll get probably another 3 years out of them. We'll see. Overall, that's not that bad, but I paid almost $300 for them, and they're not going to last all that long. If I wore these every day, like out in the woods, these would be smoked already, I'm sure. If I was cutting wood for a living, wearing these 6 and 7 days a week, these things would be completely smoked. But for what I would consider the light use I put them through, they're okay. So, there goes the Chippewas. These are a pair of Zamberlan hiking boots, or at least they used to be. When I first got these boots are excellent. When you step into these, again, Italian-made hiking boots like they used to be, well, almost like they used to be made, except for the soles. You stepped into these, and you're like, wow, these are a nice, solid, stable boot. I can hike for miles under heavy load with these. The problem being is I wore these for basically everything. And I wore the soles off until they were just basically flat up in here. So I had to get them resoled. I took them to the place that I bought them. They resold them with these, which basically ruined all the good characteristics of the boot. They used to have a good heel and had a pretty good camber, I guess you'd call it. Now it feels like you're resting back on your heels. Feels like you're almost going to fall over backwards in these boots, which kind of ruined some of the properties that I really liked about the boots. A friend of mine also had a pair of these that they started to crack right up in here and cracked all the way through. And he doesn't even hike. He just wore these around his office, and they didn't last. So again, I can't really recommend these boots. These were $269, I think, $270, $280 boots. Made in Italy, where they allegedly knew how to make boots. But again, they didn't last. They didn't hold up. So that's almost $600 worth of boots in those two pairs right there. So again, I started looking at, I've been looking at logging boots as combat boots for quite a while. I acquired these last week, and I don't really have a lot of time on these. I've broken them in. They seem to be pretty good boots. These are Carolina. I think these are Elms is the model. They're a soft toe, just plain line, but not insulated logging boot. These are okay so far. I'll do another review on these in a year. I think I'll get a year and a half, maybe even a little more out of these. But for $150, they're not terrible. A bonded sole, not sewn. It's sewn from the top into the midsole, but then the outer sole is bonded. Good lugs on them, good heel, pretty substantial leather, not quite a fully gusseted tongue, decent speed lace. So these are okay. These are going to be my stopgap boot. They didn't come looking exactly like they are. This area here, the midsole was brown leather. I blacked that out with leather dye. The speed lace was bright, and I blacked that out with MNU. And I replaced these laces with with waxed black laces, because these are just a little too gaudy, a little too bright. I just like plain black boots. To me, that's professional, that's plain. It's just, general purpose boots. These seem to be pretty good. They're breaking in pretty nice. They're comfortable. It also came with a kiltie, which I took off. I like them so far for what they are, but these will probably be the last pair of disposable boots I buy. Again, I don't buy quote unquote tactical crap boots anymore, because they're glorified sneakers and they fall apart. I'm going to, and I've said this for years, I'm going to buy a pair of either Whites or Westcos, depending on what kind of features they can give me. I've been emailing a representative from Whites this week, and I'm probably going to take the plunge on those. I'll probably have to wait 6 or 8 months for my boots, and they'll cost me several $100s up front. But as you've seen, I've spent several $100s in boots, and I don't really have a good pair of boots that I could say, okay, when shit hits the fan, I'm putting these boots on, and I can do whatever I need to do in these boots. They'll protect my feet. They're good as weapons. They're durable. I'll be able to haul loads or work or do whatever I need to in these boots. I don't have a pair of boots that I'm that confident in, which is very pathetic. Anyway, if you're looking for a decent pair of boots for that purpose, look at logging boots. Logging boots are, I think, what combat boots used to be in a lot of ways, because they are not quite as disposable as combat boots or tactical boots have come to be now, and they hold up reasonably well. I have a $90 pair of Adtex, which are made in China. They're unlined, just plain steel toe boots that actually have held up pretty well for what they are, and they're actually kind of comfortable. I wouldn't want to walk long distances in them, but I've put maybe 3 miles on in the woods. These, I expect, just from what I've gone through, I think these are going to be some favorites for walking in the woods, and we'll see how long they last at that. But again, I'm gonna bite the bullet and just buy myself the pair of boots I should have bought 10 or 20 years ago, and if I'd done that then, they would have saved me money by buying a decent, though high dollar pair of boots. The idea is, if you spend $100 on boots every year or every 2 years, you still have spent the same money on those expensive boots. But you buy the expensive boots now, you pay for it once, you cry once, and then 5 and 6 years from now, when the boots are starting to show a little age, you send them back, pay the fee, they rebuild them, and then you have basically a brand new boot again for half or third the price for another 10 or 15 years. It's to me, it's well worth it. But I remember buying a pair of Vietnam era combat boots back in the 80s from a surplus store for $5. They had just standard eyelets on them, pretty much a half gusset tongue, but they had a full lug sole, Goodyear welt construction, and they were made from good quality leather uppers, no liner, nothing fancy. I put an insole in them, and I wore these boots in the hayfield, summer and winter and into the fall. Spring and summer and into the fall, out in the hayfield driving tractors, doing everything I did on the farm, and these boots lasted me for 5 years until I just got tired of them and slung them someplace. I think I gave them to one of my cousins. I'm not sure. And the surplus store I got these boots from had racks of these boots. They were everywhere. And my thing is, well, what happened to that? Well, various trade agreements and stuff destroyed the shoemaking industry. We had a huge shoemaking industry here in Maine, which is gone, which is no longer exists anymore, which is pretty sad. But anyway, again, if you're looking for a basic black combat boot, look at the logging boots. One comment I'll make on these is, if you've never used a logger sole like this, a heel like this, if you're going to be out in the woods walking on rocks and stumps and logs, that's pretty much where it's at. It's a great grip. You can feel like a little mountain goat running up and down logs, where on a hiking boot, you don't get that effect. I feel a lot more secure walking on some types of terrain in these than I would the best hiking boots I've ever had. Anyway, on another note, coronavirus panic is starting to set in, even up where I live. There are things that are starting to disappear off the shelves that in some ways make sense and in some ways don't. I think people are just, they're believing the hype on the media, which is very sad. Don't stress about this, guys. Do I think we should take coronavirus seriously? Yes, I do. Do I think we should panic about it? No. Is coronavirus that much more deadly than the regular flu? No, it's not. From the research I've done, they're saying that the coronavirus has a 2% mortality rate, which is about like the regular flu. But the bird flu had a 8 or 9% mortality rate. And the mortality rate is generally the same people that are going to be affected by the flu virus. So you're immunocompromised, the very young, the very old, the infirmed, the people that unfortunately would have died from the flu, regular flu anyway, are going to be adversely affected by this. So just use your head, wash your hands, cover your coughs, all the stuff that you would do when you're in close proximity to like a coworker that's got the flu. Do all those things and you'll be fine. But I'm wondering if there's another agenda behind it, or the media pushing the panic button and all that. But anyway, get yourself a pair of boots. Put the Hubbard shoe grease to them. Keep good laces in them. Break them in. Take them out walking with your weapons. And have something good to rely on. These, I guess I'll do a half-hearted recommendation. I'll probably update and do a quick review on these in a year, if they're still in one piece. If you never hear anything from me again about these boots, you know your answer. All right, you guys take care. Hope this helps you out. Be safe.